This show is part of the RetroZap.com podcast network.
So, how's the dark side been?
Hello.
I see the tooth darkening is looking good.
Hello.
Got a little spot on tooth 43. Have you been flossing and podcasting regularly? Oh yeah? Like on the last Starships, Sabers, and Scoundrels? Okay, well open wide. This is gonna hurt.
Paperback writer.
With Solo, a Star Wars story, arriving this week, and having concluded our look at Brian Daley's Han Solo trilogy, we thought it would be fun to take a look at some other Star Wars stories. Or more specifically, some other Han Solo stories. However, there is a twist. Some of these stories are considered canon, and some aren't. The canon stories really happened. The others have been discarded lovingly to the scrap pile of legends. But which is which? To help us figure this out, we are pleased to welcome Ryder Waldron from Idiot's Array back to Starships, Sabers, and Scoundrels. Ryder, welcome back.
Hey, thanks for having me. You guys are actually the last podcast I listened to just yesterday, and I am thrilled to be on here with you guys tonight. Thanks for having me.
Oh, what were the other podcasts you listened to before us, Ryder?
Hello and welcome back to Behind the Actors Trailer. I'm your host, Jace Lipscrawler. According to the legendary quote by W.C. Fields, never work with animals or children. Well, I am certain he never had the opportunity to work with my guests, who have just wrapped up the series finale of Star Wars Rebels, leaving viewers breathless from their performance. It is a great honor to host the Lothwolves of Lothal. Welcome to the show, and introduce yourselves, please.
Thank you very much for having us, Jace. I'm Reginald Wolfington, son Michael von Wolfenstein IV.
That's a wonderful name.
You're very kind.
Is it familial?
Of sorts. It seems that I just have unimaginative human owners. And please allow me to introduce my compatriots, Joseph and Nell.
Wolf. I'm Wolf. Joe.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm gonna guess Legends.
Legends is correct.
Oof. Wow, that was a good guess.
Do you want to take a stab at the source?
I'm going to guess it's from a comic book, but that's like totally random guess.
Okay, well, that's not correct. Taxus or Ryder, would you like to steal the bonus? Okay. Taxus is rung in with his own buzzer that says his name.
The only time he ever hears Idiot's Array is when he and two senior officers are greeted at the sabacc table. The ship he won while playing cards is known as the Generation X Chicken Hawk. Unfortunately, everything you have heard about him is true. All of it. For him, the Kessel runs are what happens after he eats at his favorite space diner. At best, he has a really mediocre feeling about all of this. In his case, a life debt is just an arrangement between him and the financier of his flagship, the Assessor Collector. His iconic weapon was a prize at the bottom of a box of Cracker Jacks his mentor discarded. He is the most interesting Sith in the galaxy.
I always drink, and sometimes, when I'm desperate, I drink Dulce Spear. Stay safety, my fools.
With a cry of "Kiss my Wookiee," Han launched missiles to the bridge of the Star Destroyer, killing the Warlord and winning Leia's heart for good. So, Ryder, is this a canon story or a legend story?
That is a legend story.
Are you sure about that?
I think.
Are you sure?
No, I'm not sure about any of this stuff.
I'm just doing that to try to help you because I'm so far ahead.
Stop it.
I'm because there's Dathomires and Rancors.
All right,
blah, blah, blah.
Mr. Taxus, take your seat. Ryder, are you comfortable with legends?
You take this seat.
Yes, I am comfortable with my answer.
That is correct. It is a legend story. Now, can you identify the source?
Oh man, I can't think of the. I'm struggling tonight because I think it's that terrible book Legends book, and it has Prince Shizor in it, I believe. And
it does not have Princess Zora.
All right, then I don't know. I thought I knew.
Can I buzz in, please?
Taxus.
Jay.
Jay.
I was first. Okay. It was, and I love this book.
Taxus, quiet.
Hush. Courtship of Princess Leia, and it's by Dave Wolverton.
That is correct. You get the
by Dave Wolverton.
All right. Yeah. Well done.
Finally, no one.
Did I get that point for knowing the author?
No, Jay already said it. So,
yes.
Hello, Scoundrels. Solo, a Star Wars story, is in theaters, and we can't wait to talk about it. Here is a rundown for this week's show. Disney had some things to say about Galaxy's Edge during Galactic Nights. We'll get to that and other stories in this week's news. Our resident fashion expert has rounded up the latest Star Wars fashion and lifestyle product news, and she will share that in another edition of That's So Wizard. The heart of this episode is our solo discussion. Bill Dranowski from Dorklair drops in for a discussion of the latest Star Wars movie. We have a Twitter poll and other listener feedback to get to and silence fools. So buckle up, Scoundrels. Once you start this podcast, you'll never get out of the Scoundrel life. This is episode 56 of Starships, Sabers, and Scoundrels.
It's not a long time ago. It's not in a galaxy far, far away. It's right here, right now. Starships, Sabers, and Scoundrels. The source for Star Wars news and discussions with your hosts, Dennis Keithley.
He's like a droid, or I don't know.
Jay Krebs.
Right, that's right. Solo.
And Darth Taxus.
It had some space violence or something.
Get ready for fast-flying, saber-swinging, hot space opinions from your hosts, analysis, and other stuff, fun stuff.
Star Wars film?
I'm not your host. I'm just a generic, unpaid announcer.
Hunter's Wizard?
I'd call you Solo, but that's already been taken. Welcome back to the podcast that consistently achieves new lows, and this episode is no exception. I'm your dark-sided co-host and organizer of the Star Wars Limbo Party,
Darth Taxus,
coming to you from the basement of my flagship, the Assessor Collector. And with me are my co-hosts, who are heavily invested in exporting shower hair traps to Kashyyyk. Dennis, the Phantom Menace Keithley, and Jay, the Hutt Jayer Krebs. Dennis and Jay.
So why are you in the basement?
Because it's so low.
Oh,
right
now I get it. Oh, Lordy. Hi, Jay here.
Glad to have you, Jay.
Where do we go from that? Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Starship, Sabers, and Scoundrels. Before we get too far into this, just up front, we're not going to talk much about the box office for Solo, and we're not going to talk too much about audience scores because, that's covered elsewhere at this point. We're a week and a half out from the movie.
Sure.
We hope everyone's seen it, enjoyed it, and we're chomping at the bit to discuss it.
Mm-hmm.
Next order of business, RetroZap now has a Discord server, and Starship, Sabers, and Scoundrels has its own page on that server. We're having a lot of fun over there.
Yes.
I highly recommend everyone come over and check it out. Whether you're on our page, the general Retro Center, where everyone kind of hangs out. We have a solo discussion going on. It's been a lot of fun. You get to talk to all of us. You get to talk to the hosts of the other podcasts, the writers for RetroZap.
Get to talk to me.
Yeah, that you'd be one of us. So
I just want to
we'll have the links for the Discord server in our show notes, and you should be able to find them all over our social media as well. So we hope to see you there. Hey guys, in addition to getting Solo, we had a few tie-in books that came out. So we've had the Guide to Solo, the official Guide to Solo, the Art of Solo, and then the I guess young adult / teen novel, Most Wanted. Have you all had a chance to check any of these out so far?
For me, no. I'm going to be living vicariously through all of you for a little while, but they are definitely on my to-do list for this summer.
How about you, Texas?
The Guide to Solo, but I stopped at the page describing his armpits.
Okay, figures. Yeah, I've had a chance to look at the Guide to Solo. I've got the Art of Solo. I have not cracked the spine on that one. But I finished Ray Carson's Most Wanted earlier today before we recorded this. And, you know, I was really surprised by how much I enjoyed that book. If you read the jacket, it's a story that takes place before, it's a solo. Kira and Han are with the White Worms, and it kind of gets them to where they are at the beginning of the movie. And I don't know, going into the book, I just was like, I got it because I'm kind of a completist when it comes to the books. And I was like, I'll get through this, but whatever. It was really fun. It's fun. It's good. It says a lot about Corellia and what's going on with all these kids and what's going on the planet after the Empire's moved in and started their Star Destroyer production there. So I don't know. I give it a read, give it a recommendation. I'll have a review for the book coming out on RetroZap shortly if it isn't out at the time this is released.
Sounds great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But anyway, let's get on over to the news.
Sure.
All right, let's get into some Star Wars news. Jay, what do we have first?
All right. Well, first, during the Galactic Nights events following the release of Solo, Disney announced further details for the new Galaxy's Edge addition to the parks. First, the trading village on Batuu that visitors arrive at is known as Black Spire Outpost. This outpost is described as the largest settlement on Batuu and an infamous stop for traders, adventurers, and smugglers traveling around the Outer Rim and wild space. This outpost will also feature a stall containing interactive creatures, including Lothcats.
Yeah. Hey, anybody else besides me ever traveled around the Outer Rim and wild space?
Get your head out of your carpet.
Once or twice.
Oh, really? Wow. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, I got a tattoo.
Right.
All righty then. We got a lot of other information about Galactic Nights. Some of this, which I think we've kind of heard before, but they announced that each one of these parks is going to have 2 full-size AT-ATs in one of the rides, which I think they kind of gave away already with some of the
that's cool.
promotional stuff that they go, but still, very cool. And then Nia Num is going to play an important role here at Black Spire Outpost, which is really cool. I kind of like the idea that this might be a host of the land. And then they gave us the very non-specific opening dates of summer 2019 for Disneyland and late fall for Hollywood Studios at Disney World next year. Great. I don't know that that's specific enough to plan a trip around, but I don't know that I would really head down there right after opening next year anyway. I don't know. What do you two think?
Sure.
Yeah, for me, I mean, Disney is, like I've said before, it's one of those bucket list things that's at the bottom of the bucket because I don't know if I'll ever actually get to do it. So it's a far out wish list kind of thing for me. So again, it's one of those living vicariously sorts of things. I get to see everyone else do it, and I'm okay with that.
Wow. Okay, so yeah, I agree with you, Dennis. Like, I'm not going opening day, but I will be going sometime, I'm sure. Simply because ever since I was a wee little dark spot in my parents' mind.
Seriously, so
gross. Full disclosure. Well, maybe partial. This was something that I've just dreamed about. Full immersion Star Wars, and Star Wars is something that I feel like they're going to deliver to me with this. It's just, I mean, this would have been cooler if my kids were a little bit younger, so, can't really, blame them for that. But I think that still, no matter what age they are, they'll be able to go with me and we'll have a good time. And my wife, of course.
Yeah, well, I gotta tell you,
she won't have a good time, though.
I still love going to Disney World right now. I had family vacations there when I was a kid. I've taken my children there a couple times, and it's still a good time. I know I have not yet been to the Pandora over at Animal Kingdom. That's well, I don't know much about that. I didn't see Avatar. I still haven't seen Avatar.
You're among friends, buddy.
Okay, but the thing is, the land looks fantastic. It looks immersive. I've heard a lot of people who aren't even Avatar fans who've gone there and had a great time. There's still colossally long lines to get on those rides right now, 3-4 hours at a time sometimes, and that's fantastic. They have the fast pass system that you can use to skip that, but if you don't have it, it's still drawing these huge crowds there. And okay, that's for Avatar. Now, let's think about what they're going to have for Star Wars. So I can deal with crowds. It's just that I think my plan is to give this a year or so to let that newness wear off. And sure, I may have heard everything about it by then, but I think I'm going to enjoy it whether I'm there day 1 or day 366 at some point. So that's my plan.
Well, when I do it, I'm going to reach out to Dave Dollar, who is also on the Deucecast and Disney on a Dollar podcast, to help me figure out the best way to enjoy it and maximize my budget.
Right. They also announced that the Star Wars Hotel is going to be connected to the south side of Galaxy's Edge in order to, Disney Hollywood Studios at Walt Disney World in Orlando, in order to provide their guests with a seamless transition from the hotel and the park. So
awesome.
That's something else to look forward to. Okay, so Taxus, what else do we have going on in the news?
Oh, thank you for that handoff, Dennis. And as with The Last Jedi, Marvel is creating tie-in material for Solo, a Star Wars story. Marvel will feature Tobias Beckett in a one-shot this August. The description of the book reads, Tobias Beckett taught Han Solo everything he knows about surviving hoodlum-filled cantinas and backwater worlds. But who is this career outlaw, and why is Enfys Nest, one of the galaxy's most dangerous and brutal marauders, so dead set on taking him down once and for all? Well, I have no idea, but I do know that the name of this comic is appropriate because all it took is one shot to make him go.
Boom, boom. Yeah, well,
Yes.
save the explanation for that for our Solo discussion later. This is being written by Jerry Duggan, whose other Star Wars work for Marvel was writing the Chewbacca miniseries, which was fine. I didn't think it was anything spectacular, but it was fine.
Was that the Dark Horse thing? No. That was the new Marvel one. I'm sorry. Yes. Gotcha.
He's also known for writing Deadpool. Deadpool means something different to a lot of people. I've read some of his run, and it can be hysterical. He's told some great stories there. So I am very excited to see this. It'll be a expanded issue of about 40 pages versus the usual 22, 23 that we get in one of those comics. So should be a pretty good story.
That's neat. I would love to see more of those one shots. I really appreciate those for comic books, with the whole the C-3PO Red Arm thing. And I think it'd be cool, to even get a Rio one shot and possibly an Enfys Nest. And, you could really do a lot.
Yeah, I want to see an entire miniseries on Kira and one on Enfys Nest. Those would be fantastic as well. Yeah, sure. But to your point about the one shots, the one they did for DJ that tied into The Last Jedi.
Yeah.
That, in my opinion, was better than any of the other Canto Bight material we've received. Whether you're talking about the novel, even the Canto Bight scenes that we got in the movie. I thought that comic was fantastic. So there's that. All right. Well, just a few other quick hits from the news before we get on to other things. But if you are excited to watch The Last Jedi again and you don't have it on Blu-ray, it will be arriving on Netflix in late June. That'd actually be June 26th to be exact. So
wow.
You can look for that then. And Solo is getting a novelization, and that'll be due on September 6th. It's going to be written by Mur Lafferty. Now, this was an author I wasn't familiar with, but she's a Hugo Award winner and has received a lot of other accolades for her novels, including Six Wakes, Ghost Trains to New Orleans, and The Shambling Guide to New York City. Apparently, she's a rather well-known podcaster, too.
Well, that's good to hear because I was concerned about the novelization after they fired the first couple of authors.
They were not.
Okay. All right. Well, that's going to do it for the news for this week. For more on these stories and others, we recommend such sites as retrozap.com, Jedi News, Fantatrax, theforce.net, and, of course, starwars.com.
People listening are laughing right now, I'm just going to say.
Banded together across the television dial are the 4 greatest superhero podcasts on the internet. Green Justice and Arrow Podcast, Scarlet Velocity, a Flash Podcast, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Case Files, and Terrigen Dreams and Inhumans Podcast. Join Super Friends Jovial J and Jedi Schwa weekly as they provide commentary and discussion on your favorite heroes. Only on retrozap.com.
This is so wizard.
You feeling me, Hunter's Wizard? Oh, I was just stepping to you, girl, with my intellectual wizard politics.
I am an enchanter. Wizards only. Fools.
Wizards rule.
There are some who call me Tim.
Greetings, Tim the Enchanter.
Nope, wizards only. Wizards only, fools.
Hey, Scoundrels, welcome back to That's So Wizard, a monthly rundown of Star Wars fashion and product news from all corners of the galaxy. I've scoured the hyperspace lanes to find something for all sentient beings. So sit back, grab your wallets, and get your add to cart fingers ready to go. With the start of summer as well as Father's Day coming up right around the corner, I've picked out some fun items. But first off, I have to update everyone on the Lando tableware mentioned last month.
Ooh,
it's available now on ThinkGeek. So at the time, we weren't really sure where it was going to be available or when. So it is titled the Lando Calrissian Accents Collection, and it is exquisite. So again, if you didn't get a chance to listen to the last one, this is a white setting or clear, depending upon what piece you're looking at, with gold panache. And it has some different designs with some Orabesh that says Lando. And you can get a set of 4 dinner plates for $34.99, a set of salad plates for $19.99, 2 different styles of highball glasses, $7.99 each. There's a Han and a Lando style.
Oh, cool.
And a bottle stopper for $9.99, and that is the one that I definitely have my eye on. So
yeah, that one's gorgeous.
Yeah. Yes, so it definitely has that Lando style to it for sure.
Why do I feel like I could see Lando Calrissian doing like a shop at home network ad for this? You know what I mean? If you act now, you'll get the Han highball. Yeah, totally.
On his Calrissian Chronicles, So here we go. Yeah, but ThinkGeek has a special Father's Day deal right now. If you spend more than $65, you'll want to use the code DADWALLET, all one word, and you can get a $14.99 wallet for free, and you can also buy the wallet by itself. So it's a red wallet. It's like red, black, and gray. It has a stripe across it. It has the Millennium Falcon, but it's a fold-out wallet, and it has places where you can put your ID, a few credit cards, and of course some money in the billfold. So I thought that was pretty cool. So there's a bunch of stuff available from ThinkGeek that caught my eye for summer fun or Father's Day, and those include snack bowls for picnics, including a Jabba, Wampa, and Chewbacca styles, kites, sunshades for the car, and if you're into camping, there's an outdoor Death Star tent, which ThinkGeek says is guaranteed not to disintegrate to tents around it.
I'm out. Totally out.
Fully armed and operational tent for camping. Okay.
Exactly. And they also have onesie-style Star Wars sleeping bags. Ooh. So you have to check these things out. So the tent is $249.99. It looks pretty spacious. And then the little onesies... Yeah, spacious. Oh, I guess you. The onesies are literally that. They just look like puffy onesies, but they are designed to be sleeping bags. So you can, depending on what style you want, they have a Darth Vader and a Stormtrooper, and they're anywhere from $62.99 to $78.99 depending on the size. So it's one of those things that you can get into, zip up, and then I guess you don't have to worry about weird creepy crawlies and Minox getting into your sleeping bag while you sleep.
Unless I'm wearing it, then.
Yeah, something like that. But there's a lot of really other fun things too, and I am so in love with this one. It is the Millennium Falcon multi-tool kit. Whoa. And yeah, this is a ThinkGeek exclusive. So this one obviously looks like the Millennium Falcon. It's $29.99. It comes with 4 hex keys, 2 screwdrivers, and an adjustable wrench.
Whoa.
So yeah, the screwdrivers and the hex keys are held in place with rubber rings so they don't escape. And then this is listed on the website, made me laugh. It says, the back hatch is magnetically sealed. Please do not shoot at it with blasters.
That's cute.
I thought that was cute. Yeah. So the screwdrivers insert into the sides of the ship. There's a Phillips head and a slot head. And there's an adjustment wheel for the wrench in the center underside, which controls the wrench built into the helm.
Wow.
And so the hex keys and screwdrivers are actually carbon steel. So they're pretty strong.
Whoa.
But
Did you say carbonite steel?
No, just carbon.
Oh, okay. I love this thing because it's like if Corellia had their own brand of Swiss people.
Yeah, or just a MacGyver kind of person. But
okay.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet.
I think it was Swiss.
But there's also, if you don't like the Millennium Falcon style, they have an R2D2 multi-tool kit as well. And they even have an R2 tape measure because, you always want to measure twice, cut once. So there you have it.
Are you a moidal or something? Or
no, because those lightsabers, you can't. There's no room for mistake.
Okay, right. So, gotcha. Okay.
So we're still kind of on ThinkGeek, but migrating a little bit off-world here, I guess you could say. This is one of my favorites, and this is something that I purchased several years ago. Used to be available on ThinkGeek, but I couldn't find it there. It says it's not currently available, so it is on Amazon, and it's the R2D2 folding camp chair.
Oh.
And yeah, I got mine about 7 or 8 years ago. It's still in awesome shape. I've drug it to everything from Little League baseball games to football practices, tractor pulls, fire pits, more. It's probably even older than 7 or 8 years because literally my kid was in Little League baseball and he just graduated from high school. So the only thing it doesn't have is drink holders, but I did improvise and I got some of those like ones that you can attach from Walmart and it works just fine. So the only thing that I had to do was hand sew a little bit of the nylon case in a few spots due to wear, but overall excellent. Love it. And it's $36.24 on Amazon and it is eligible for Prime. So that's a fun one. And then this one really caught my eye for the garden. So we're talking summer now, and anyone that knows me or follows me on Instagram or Twitter, you know how much I love gardening and anything having to do with gardens. So these are wind chimes, which I love wind chimes. And these are available on Amazon for $36.75. Not eligible for Prime though. Okay. And here's the description. You can add a touch of decor with this handmade 5-ring wind chime. It has a relaxing, beautiful sound. It measures approximately 18 inches tall from the silver plate at the top and 25 inches from the top of the hanger piece.
No.
And the charms on the chime vary in size, but most range from 2 to 4 inches. So there's 2 different styles. There's more of a classic design that has like Boba Fett, R2D2, Luke, Yoda, Stormtrooper. And then the other one is, I guess you could call more of an updated design with BB-8, Rey, Kylo Ren, Finn, Phasma, and another Stormtrooper. So they're just really, really cool.
Yeah, that's
those. They're exceptionally cool. Those would look really fantastic hanging outside by a garden or something.
I know. And I showed them to my husband when I was doing some research for this, and he was like, which is kind of like I'm thinking maybe I might have to get you that for your birthday in July kind of thing. So you never know.
True story. When we were looking for a ship, the reason I decided on the Assessor Collector was because the previous owner had a wind chime outside. And when we were looking around, I heard the wind naturally blow. Dung, 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 dung.
Nice.
No kidding. The wind chime has those exact same tones. It's bizarre. I still have it outside.
That is really cool. I wonder if this one has any kind of thing like that where the tones are specifically designed to mimic any sort of theme.
That would be awesome, and I'm sure a lot of people would really love to get their hands on them if they made that product improvement.
I would myself as well, not going to lie. So if I do get them, I will follow up.
Okay.
For sure.
Yeah. We're going to need a video.
All right. Yes. And next up, you can't have summer without swimwear.
No.
And I've mentioned this line before from Muster Brand, but their line of women's Star Wars one-piece bathing suits were previewed earlier on another segment of That's a Wizard, but they are now available on the website, and they are $49.99 a piece.
Sure.
I actually have the Ahsoka swimsuit. I love it. It's very comfortable. It's true to size. Now, I haven't actually worn it for performance yet, in terms of like to actually go swimming in it.
Okay.
You know?
Okay, I wasn't sure what you meant by that at first, but
Yeah. But I mean, it seems like it would hold up really well. But I'm not much of an ocean goer. Okay. Anyways, I prefer the pool, so I'll be interested to see how well the colors hold up with the chlorine. So again, I'll have to report back. Mm-hmm. But very excited to try that one out for real this summer. But they also have a Kylo Ren, a Rebel, and a Leia style. And guys, you're not getting left out here. They
you
also
get a women's one piece too?
No, you have board shorts.
Because I had a performance already in mind for that.
Oh, okay. But yeah, I mean, the board shorts are always made of a slightly different material than the bathing suits, and they seem to hold up a little bit better with chlorine over time. So it'll just be interesting to see how these hold up. But they have a Rebel and a Kylo Ren style, and those are also $49.99 each.
I actually walk around with chlorine in my board short pockets, just in case. You know.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Well, there you go. Yeah, because sometimes you just never know.
You never know. You might be in Dagobah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's just nasty.
No.
But but again, Scoundrels, all of these links will be on the show notes. So if you want to check any of these out, you can just go to any of those. Mm-hmm. And so last of my picks this month is also the Wizard Award recipient. So we're killing 2 Minox with 1 stone here. So this award is simply an honorific I choose to bestow to a shop, product, or person whom I feel deserves some extra attention. So I always try to pick out the smaller shops, some independent owners and that type of thing. So I found this really cool shop on Etsy called Wood with Mood.
Huh.
Mm-hmm. And this shop creates personalized and customized beer steins. So for the dad in your life, or a lady who likes her beer steins, cigar pipes, and some really neat custom wooden and leather backgammon game sets. I've never seen anything like this. These are so unique.
Yeah, that's
cool. It is run by a gentleman by the name of Alexander Trukhanov, and he's been on Etsy since 2016. He has a perfect 5-star rating, and it's not just Star Wars items. He's got tons of different things. So you can order these custom. He's got some different styles you can pick from. And if you like anything, the turnaround time to the U.S. is about 14 to 21 days before the item is shipped from the Ukraine. And if you check it out, there's some really, really cool styles on here. There's, they all look just, and he even has a video on his Etsy page that shows how from start to finish each one of these is made and customized, and they all come with their own little lid, which I just really appreciate some of these extra details that he's put into it. But you can get names put on it, so you can get these for groomsmen, you can get them for just having someone, just a date on it. One of them says future husband, established 3/31/17. I thought that was really cool. And then the backgammon sets, they're really unique. So, backgammon isn't something that, I play a whole lot, but I guess if I did, and again, you can get those personalized. I just really appreciate it.
Really?
Are you?
No.
Not really.
Awesome. Yeah, I didn't think so, but I was playing along anyway.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So those are my picks for this month, and hopefully you found some good things that you like. And I have to say really quickly that my boys got me, and this is kind of summer related as well, for Mother's Day, they surprised me with a Williamson-Sonoma silicone Star Wars ice cube / popsicle maker. And nice. So there's six large sized silicone ice cube. You can make popsicles. You can even do chocolates in it, it says.
Oh.
But I made my first batch of ice cubes, and you just pop them right out, and you got a big old Darth Vader head or whatever. They're just a lot of fun. And or you can make, any kind of like slushy pops and stuff like that. So they knocked it out of the park with that one. I was completely surprised. And you can also hop on Pinterest. There's a lot of fun Star Wars themed summer cocktail recipes if you'd like to try any of those while you're hanging out by the fire pit or by the pool. So, just some suggestions. And next time around, I'm going to talk a little bit about the upcoming Sideshow Solo figure. So give you a little bit of preview on that, but that'll do it for me for this month for That's So Wizard.
This is Bill Dranowski from the Dorklair Collecting Podcast, and you're listening to Starships, Sabers, and Scoundrels.
The road to Solo concluded, and at the end of that hyperspace lane was Solo, a Star Wars Story, which debuted in theaters on May 24th. So, of course, our hypothetical discussion segment this week is all about Solo. Joining us for our review is the host of Dork Lair, a Star Wars collecting podcast devoted to SH figure arts and other imported action figures. Bill Janowski, welcome to Starships, Sabers, and Scoundrels.
Hey, thanks for having me on.
It's our pleasure. Thanks for joining us. So, Scoundrels, this is a full spoiler discussion, but come on, you should have seen this film by now anyway. So, regardless, Taxus, sound the spoiler because we're about to dive in with both feet. So, let's kick things off with our general overreactions. About 30 seconds are left. What did you think? We'll start with you, Bill.
I loved it. I thought it was an excellent movie. I loved all of the sort of like origin parts of it, like Han meeting Chewie especially, and I just thought it was a fantastic addition to the galaxy.
How about you, Jay?
This was the movie that brought me back to that original reason that I fell in love with Star Wars. And I, as you'll hear me say in my reaction with Pam, I skipped out of the theater. And that is no lie. I was so happy when I left there. It was just pure joy from beginning to end. It was everything and more that I had hoped that it would be. And it did answer a lot of questions. And it was just a lot of fun. I loved it.
How about you, Taxus?
Well, I went in not wanting anything really major to, make me go, let me ponder on this. Let me think about this. Let me consider this, what I just saw. Instead, I just wanted to go in and see a fun, swashbuckling movie. And, I really got that from start to finish. I was not bored one single minute of this film at all. And it just was so much of a little treasure trove of, I guess you might say, little EU-isms and little things, connections once you stop think about it. But the first time you see it, you don't have to worry about all that stuff. You're just sitting back and enjoying it and watching it. So, yeah, I loved it.
Yeah, I'm in complete agreement with all of you. I don't know that I ever really got my expectations in a particular place for this movie, although the trailers made it look a lot better than I thought it deserved to be, given the production difficulties that we're all well aware of, and we're not going to recap here. But this was the first Star Wars movie of this new era of Star Wars that made me feel like I was watching Return of the Jedi or The Empire Strikes Back. I got that same feeling I did when I was a kid. I think it had to do with the pace. I think it had to do... there just wasn't so much worry going into this movie and angst about who was going to live, who was going to die, that type of thing. So extremely, extremely fun. With that out of the way, why don't we continue our conversation by, let's go to the man himself, Han Solo. What did we think about him here? What did we think about Alden Ehrenreich's performance in this movie? Bill?
I thought it was fantastic. I thought he had a great voice for the character. It didn't sound like Harrison, but I don't know that that's necessarily what anybody really wanted.
Sure.
But it sounded like the character. It's one thing to do an imitation, but I felt like he captured that character well.
How about you, Jay?
Oh, yeah. I feel like there were some amazing parallels between Alden Ehrenreich and Harrison Ford, and it felt fresh, but in a way that also felt like you were coming home to the character and going back in time and seeing the same person. And I just felt that his performance was incredibly seamless. And, and I've said it before already, is that now when I read some of the older EU novels where Han is depicted as being younger, I'm starting to see Alden Ehrenreich in my head instead of Harrison Ford, which is, I feel like that's a huge tribute to his acting skills, to be able to take something so iconic with a fan that's been, in the biz since 1977, so to speak, and, make you believe that that's who that is. But it was such a great portrayal. I was very, very happy.
Yeah. One of the things about it, I just reconciled in my mind head that he wasn't going to look just like Harrison Ford. We've talked about that before in another episode, and the thing I was really looking for were those visual and audio cues. You know what I mean? Like, did he get the inflection right? Did he get kind of the accent right? Which, correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but was it more of a Midwestern type of, Illinois type of accent, that Han Solo had? I guess this kind of natural one from Harrison Ford or something. So, not so Chicago, but, so, and I think he nailed it. I think and just by extension, also I was looking for that in Donald Glover, and I think he nailed it too. Mm-hmm. But the one thing that I think was really kind of a little distinctive, I felt like there was just that more youthful, cocksure attitude, with them at this age, because you are kind of brash and bold, and you haven't mellowed, so to speak, even though you're trying to be mellow at times. So I guess that's the word I'm looking for, cocksure with that. Yeah.
See, the word I was going with was swagger from Han Solo. I thought Aaron Wright captured the Han Solo swagger just perfectly, and I agree with all of you. He didn't sound like Harrison Ford, at least in the sound of his voice, but he managed. There were several expressions he made. That I thought to myself, I could see Harrison Ford making that face, or his reaction to when Kira said, I'm the only one in the galaxy that knows what you really are, and he kind of leaned back and had that that swagger and that grin he had. Oh yeah, what's that? And that was, again, I could have pictured Harrison Ford doing that. I mean, I guess it helps that the Kasdans wrote this movie and they know Han Solo just about totally better than anybody. But and then to your point, Taxus, I really liked Donald Glover's performance as Lando. He captured the charm. He captured the smooth. He captured the persuasiveness that Billy Dee brought to that role as well. He did a fantastic job with that as well.
If I can add one more thing too, I just remember reading back again in the dark ages with West End Games with Lando. He was described more of as a gambler, as far as like a character type, than he was a smuggler or a businessman or whatever you would think about that. And I really came away feeling that with his character in this one. He was more of a gambler, more like you might go back to that Western Maverick, Sure. Sure, he literally kept a card up his sleeve, So
speaking of which, Bill, what did you think about that with Lando? Were you expecting him to be a card cheat? How did that sit with you?
It fit for me, I think, knowing that he's a double crosser type, and he's not all on the up and up. I think it helped to build that character. But before we move away from the swagger of like a young Han, one thing that I think the movie did successfully is establish how he goes from this cocksure youth to somebody who's a little more world weary or something, you know what I mean? Like he's seen some stuff of thing by the time we see him in A New Hope. So just wanted to add that little bit to the swagger part.
Agreed.
Absolutely. So Jay, what did you think about the gambling, the scene? I'm talking about the one in the middle of the movie where that was their big play to get the Falcon, and Han had Lando beat until Lando played his cheat card.
Right. Well, I agree with Bill. It fits his character because, as we know, Empire, he ends up double crossing in many ways. And it makes sense to finally say that he won the Falcon fair and square at the end, by preventing him from cheating. So I do feel like it did fit. And I have to say, I'm like Kira, I just want to hang out for a day in Lando's cape closet. I just want to go there and just try them all on.
The thing about that, it's like Lando, he's not going to go into something generally that he feels like he can't control or he can't win, And so he pulling that card didn't really, surprise me at all in the least bit. In fact, the one thing I love is how Han actually is a legitimately good gambler. He knows how to work it. And I love I love the, I wouldn't call it retconning per se, but it probably is, how they came up with why Lando calls him Han instead.
Yes.
So what is this, Sabak? Trying to sound like some backwoods yokel, like he doesn't even know the name of the game. So, yeah, that was great. Right. That was wonderful how they worked that in.
One of the things I got to say about the gambling scenes in this movie is that I really appreciated that I didn't have to know that much about cards to get kind of caught up in the drama of the card game there. And I really like the fact, because it was Sabak, and I mean, I get the idea, you're trying to get as close as to zero, and there's cards with positive values and negative values, et cetera, but they had cards that from a distance it was hard to make out what was on them, and so that was great. But they both were playing each other to get to them to that position, right where they each had each other right where they wanted to be. Han was certain he had that winning hand to win the Falcon, and then Lando, managed to get the card so that he could play his cheat card and win the hand. I just, it kind of legitimized this is that Western aspect of the movie with the gambling. So that was something I appreciated quite a bit. What, we were introduced to several other new characters in this movie. We made references to Kira. There was, of course, Tobias. We had Rio Durant and Val and L337, which and then of course the villain Dryden Voss. Which of these characters stood out the most to you, Bill?
I'm gonna have to go with Beckett as far as my favorite sort of new character that was introduced. I really thought I was gonna love Kira, but I think the performance was a little bit lacking there, and I think that Woody Harrelson just nailed this, sort of like prototypical mentor rogue kind of guy.
Yeah, sure.
Mm-hmm. How about you, Jay?
This, I'm sitting here thinking, trying to make a game time decision here, and it's really difficult for me. And I do love Beckett. And did you guys hear him call Han Sparky? Did you catch that?
No.
Yeah. That was from the trilogy, the Brian Daley trilogy. And I picked up on that right. Yeah, I remember how he called him Sparky. But and so like right away I thought, I wonder if this is kind of, based on that character just a little bit. But I feel like Kira did what she felt like she had to do, but obviously there's those 3 years of her life that she got entangled with Crimson Dawn that we don't know how or why that happened, but I love L3. Oh my goodness. And just knowing that she's part of the Falcon now, and everything that they've talked about that has made so much sense in terms of, sending 3PO back. Oh no, I need you to go back and talk to the Falcon. And, it just makes sense. Mm-hmm. And the idea that the Falcon suggested going to Bespin, it's almost like she knew Lando was there, It's just, there's so many things that I picked out and just thought, oh gosh, this is so cool. And just her whole, persona was really awesome too. So yeah, it's really, and I loved Enfys Nest. I want to know more about Enfys Nest.
Hey, Taxus, a few episodes ago, we were discussing one of the trailers, and one of the things that you had mentioned was that L3's voice was grating, or something to that effect. What did you think of her in this movie?
Well, I think that the context that I finally saw that line set in made sense to me then.
Which one are we referring to?
The one where she's like, "I'm so glad we took this job."
Oh, right.
Because whereas in the first one, it sounds more like she's like, "Oh, I'm so glad we took this job." And all being sarcastic like Teenage Robot or something. This one was more like she's in the thralls of her weird programming that's been allowed to evolve because she hasn't had her memory wiped, and she's just so focused and centered on it. I know that was a little grating to some people, but I thought it was funny because one, especially when she just wouldn't let it drop, and Lando gives her the big eye roll, like, oh gosh, why can't you just throttle back a little bit, because I know I get that from the Lady Taxus a lot. And also, it basically helped them escape Kessel because of all that. Oh yeah. So I've turned around a little bit on her. I thought the part where she was talking to Kira, and she's like, so it was like girl talk time, and you could tell Kira was kind of like uncomfortable with it, like I don't know. And of course I love the whole, it would work. kind of thing.
It works.
Yeah, that's right.
It works.
Yeah.
It's like, oh boy, okay, don't want to mentally go there. But you're
totally
right, they are like an old married couple.
Yeah.
It was just their banter between each other. And you know, that salute that they give, I am still convinced that's, you know, in Return of the Jedi when Lando gives Han that same thing. It's just, it's got to be a throwback.
So,
or throw forward in this case.
Right. So, as far as other characters, I mean, I loved Beckett. I mean, Woody Harrelson is just, you know, hey, how do I do this? Just be Woody Harrelson and do it awesomely. Okay, you know, and he did it. But Dryden Voss, you know, I was really thinking about his character, and I was really thinking about the first actor they chose to play him, you know, and how they had to reshoot with, you know, Paul Bettany. And I don't know, I really liked Paul Bettany portraying a bad guy, and I kind of liked how he would have those flashes of manic rage, but then he would get control of himself, you know? And one of the things I noticed, I'm trying to remember the line, but it was just kind of creeped me out while he was accepting a drink from one of his servants, but it was one of those headless people.
The decraniated.
Yes, the decraniated. And I thought, oh, it's so creepy. You keep it decraniated. Ugh, and that kind of told me who he was, you know? Beckett, a lot of people with the whole Val dying thing, you know, Val was a good character. I didn't realize that she was his wife when I saw the movie, but, you know, hey, I guess she was his wife from what somebody's told me. And the fact that she and Rio died and they were so tight together, you know, and all of a sudden Beckett's buried them and he said his words, and now he's like, okay, now I got to figure out how to survive this. You know what I mean? And I don't know, that just kind of told me something about him that he kept trying to portray onto Kira too. Hey, she's a survivor, kid. In other words, she's going to do to you what I would do to you, which is betray you. You know? And I'm kind of wondering if that's ultimately what turns Han into a jaded person we see in A New Hope, because he still, at the end of this movie, in my opinion, has this feeling like, hey, I can get her, I can still rescue the damsel in distress, you know, and get her out of there and do something more. But he has no idea of what she's dealing with, as she does. And so, you know, if they do make another movie, I hope we see that she just totally rips her hand into his chest, rips out his still beating heart, throws it on the floor, and stomps on it while telling him, go away.
Nice.
Heartbroken?
Okay. Well, yeah, that's something. Yeah.
No problem.
Actually,
True story.
Those are all good choices y'all made. You know, I'm not going to repeat any of them because we've covered those. You know, I was absolutely enamored with Rio. I loved watching him bounce around the cockpit and fly that ship. I could have seen a lot more of that. I was kind of sorry to see him go as early as he did. And then, of course, Val was cool. I agree with what Bill said, that Emilia Clarke performance for Kira might have been a little uneven, but regardless, I still found her incredibly fascinating. Like you said, Jay, I'm wondering what it was exactly that happened that got her into Crimson Dawn. And then at the end of that movie, why she made the ultimate decision to go ahead and report to Maul. And we'll get to that. You know, okay, I'm blowing the cameo, of course, but everyone, like I said, spoiler warning. Sure. So, you know, why she went ahead and made that decision as opposed to taking that opportunity to run off with Han on some sort of an adventure. But I want to get to some of the scenes in this movie because there was a lot of great ones. And let's start with the train heist on this one. I love that. That was one of my favorite parts of this entire movie. That was you know, something I don't think we've really seen. You know, with the pace of it kind of remind me a bit of in tone to the speeder bike chase from Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
But what all you know, what did you all think about that scene? How about you, Bill?
I didn't quite totally grasp. I've only seen it the one time, and I think I'll get it the next time I see it. But I didn't totally grasp how that whole thing played out with Enfys Nest getting there, and like that whole thing like was a little confusing to me in terms of just like the way it played out. But the visuals and the action of it, I thought were fantastic. Watching, and this is one of the things that was really kind of turned me on to Beckett was kind of like watching him in his like full action mode, kicking butt.
Yeah.
That was pretty awesome.
That was cool.
I just thought it was really refreshing scene in a Star Wars movie. Like you said, the pacing was a lot like a speeder bike chase, but realistically for a movie called Star Wars, we really didn't get a whole lot of action in the stars. I mean, most of the action was, either planet side or, in traveling from one area to another, but you didn't really get like true full-on space battles this time. So I thought it was really refreshing, and it reminded me a lot of Money Train. That idea of that too, just that adrenaline rush and we got to get this, or, this could happen. But, obviously they were getting things for very different reasons, as we find out, than Enfys Nest. But yeah, I thought it was really cool.
Yeah. I just liked it because it felt like part of the bigger puzzle of a space Western. And, one of the things I've been hearing a lot of people have been talking about the color of everything. It's, I don't know, it felt kind of dingy here, or it felt kind of, weird, and I don't know, at times when it was really bright, it kind of felt blurry. And the thing about it is, to me, that kind of harkens back to those spaghetti westerns, the Sergio Leone ones with the Man with No Name. From, Good and the Bad and the Ugly is the third in that trilogy, right? For a fistful of dollars, a few dollars more, and Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. And if you go back and watch those movies, there's like scenes in there where the film just feels gritty, and I don't think it intended to. I think that was just the way that it was filmed, And I almost felt that captured in some of these scenes, that you just kind of felt dirty and gritty,
Sure.
And so that's the same way I felt with this whole, train heist scene, is that it just helped feed into that whole Western feeling already. Speaking of which, we kind of have the first, maybe if they do more, in a Star Wars version of the Man with No Name, because, he only had one name, so to speak. So it's kind of like that, or at least he didn't own up to what his last name was.
What did you all think about that? That's how Han got his name, his last name? Because if you all may recall, it wasn't at what point during the whole promotion of this movie some months ago, Bob Iger made this comment that we find out how Han Solo got his name, only to have Kathleen Kennedy and Lucasfilm walk that back and saying, there's, it's more reputational type of a thing. No, it literally was Han Solo, how he got his last name. Because when he is, one of the things that you pointed out when we were finishing up our Brian Daly trilogy discussion, Jay, was, I can't remember her name, but she really challenged Han about not having any people.
Oh, that line was used. Yeah.
Yeah. This guy challenges Han by saying, who are your people? Right. And he's like, I don't have any. And so
she was hasty.
So this Imperial recruitment officer gives him the last name of Solo. But again, with that as the backdrop, what did everyone think about that? How about you, Bill?
Well, in terms of the Empire assigning names to people, it fits in universe pretty well for me, especially when you see something like all the stormtroopers who have their number designations, alphanumeric designations, and especially when you get into the First Order and stuff like that. So the actual way it sort of happened makes a lot of sense to me. As far as we don't need to see every little thing, how every little sort of origin happened. I really don't mind that, quite frankly. I can sort of take it or leave it.
Sure.
It doesn't bother me, but it's not necessarily something that was like, whoa, cool. But it makes sense. It makes sense in universe for if they're going to have an explanation of all the explanations they could have, that one makes sense to me.
See, in my headcanon, I still believe that he came from money and that he saw Kira, fell in love with her, and that's why he kind of forsook everything. But I don't know. That's why he was reluctant to say his real name, because that's how he knows everything about the YT-1300. His dad designed it, not built it on the assembly line. How about that?
Right.
That'd be awesome. But no, so yeah, that's a good point.
You'll need to read Most Wanted.
I was going to ask you about that. Yeah, it probably blows everything I hoped and dreamed
pretty much
out of the water.
Yeah, but anyway,
Who wrote that again?
headcanon's always fun, though. You know, I mean, come on, you got to speculate sometimes. I thought it was really cool. I really did. It put a smile on my face to just think that, you know, you almost not wish necessarily, but you almost wonder if there's some sort of like extravagant way that he got his name, you know, but no, it was just an Imperial officer. We'll call it Solo. Now, was that Tagger Bink?
No, they actually got their scene got cut from the movie.
Oh, okay. Because when I saw that, I'm like, because you know me, I wasn't really familiar with the two of them anyways, and I was like, I wonder if that's one of them. But it wasn't. Okay.
Someone asked, I think it was John Kasdan on Twitter, you know, hey, where was the Tag and Bink cameo? And then, you know, he responded that it unfortunately got cut, but that it will be one of the deleted scenes on the Blu-ray.
Yeah,
when that comes out.
Okay,
so
cool.
They could almost do like a whole like Tag and Bink behind the scenes Solo thing, like what they experienced. But I just loved how that officer was like, so I don't care, you know? And he just picks the name and he kind of checks it to see if anybody happens to already be named that. And he's like, oh, checks out, get in there. He's like not even paying attention to the fact that, you know, all the commotion going just like, what, a few hundred yards away, you know, or something.
Right. So one of the most famous aspects of Han Solo is his sidekick, Chewbacca. And we learn all about how they came to be a duo in this movie. Yeah. From their introduction in the cage on Mimban to really how they naturally became pilot and co-pilot on the Falcon. What about their portrayal stood out to y'all? What about how about you, Bill?
I thought the cage scene was nearly perfect. In my opinion, that was probably one of the best scenes in the entire movie, and it did justice to those two meeting each other, and it was absolutely hilarious with Han speaking Sherlock and like the way he was like, all right, just go ahead, just pound on me, you know, like just the whole the whole bit was absolutely hilarious and perfect in my opinion.
And it was terrible Shriwook too, because like, you know,
feeling like choked and stuff.
Oh, it was indeed. Well, when they first threw him down there, I thought, Rancor Pit. You know, totally. That was the first thought because they said the Beast. I honestly did not even see that coming the first time, and then you know, of course, when Chewbacca lumbers out and you see his foot, as soon as I saw his foot, I knew it was him. But yeah, that banter and just the fact that Han actually trusted him to go along with their pretend fight, you know, kind of thing, and it's just they bonded from just the get-go, and it was so cool. I was smiling so much. I think my mouth was gonna break from smiling.
So there was never any actual point in this movie to where it was like, and Chewie stops and goes, in other words, I now owe you my life debt. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And there was no, but what I got was one, Han rescued Chewie basically out of captivity, right? That kind of fits in with that old canon, you know, a little bit. Han also rescued him before he got his brains bashed in, right? By hitting that thing. Han additionally rescued him by pointing out, you know, no, you need to come with me. Just trust me, you know. Han let him go save his fellow Wookiees. You know, at some point, he trusted him enough.
To me, that's where the life debt comes in.
Okay, cool. You know, so I just felt there were so many moments to where Chewie's just like, this dude's so awesome. You know what I mean? He's like the best person I've ever met. You know, so I mean that's where I kind of got at the end of it, like the whole life debt thing. And to me, the scene where Han's taking a shower and Chewie walks in and Han's like, hey, and Chewie just looks at him and it just says the Wookiee equivalent.
Didn't we do this separately?
He just says the Wookiee equivalent of, shh, just let it happen.
You know, one of my favorite aspects of the relationship was when they came to be pilot and co-pilot on the Falcon. You know, Han's sitting in the pilot's chair because Lando's in the back trying to get the component out of L3, and then Kira's in the co-pilot's chair, and Han's like, we need to do, I can't remember what it was he said we need to do, and she's like,
about the external dampeners or something.
The shields, yeah.
And then, you know,
something, yeah.
Angle the back rear deflector shields. Yeah.
Oh, that's what it was. Okay.
And so, anyways, Chewbacca just does it, and and Han says, how did you know how to do that? And that's where the whole "you're 190 years old, you look great" line comes in. But then Kira gets up, and Chewbacca just sits down, and the two go to work. Like they were just natural partners that have been doing that for their entire lives. And so I don't know.
Chills.
Yeah,
chills.
Then, we get into the Kessel scene when they're doing the Kessel Run, and just you got those two working together. You got the Falcon fleeing from the TIE fighters. The the escape from the Maw, and then you get this great mashup of all the wonderful music that has been in the other movies. That was the asteroid chase, the Here They Come music. You name it. Any of the famous Falcon music, and it was there in that scene. So I guess that gets us into the Kessel Run. How did that come off to y'all?
The Kessel Run. Well, let me backtrack just 1 second. The whole part from the start of Kessel, leaving Kessel, and then going through the Maw or whatever. That whole, as like a section of the movie, that was my favorite part of the movie, and I thought that whole part was really, really good. Like, if I had to pick one scene, it might be Han meeting Chewie in the cage. But if I had to pick one sort of arc or whatever, Kessel is the one.
Yeah.
That really stands out to me. And the run was fantastic. It was over the top, with the sputtering engine, and then it just overloads and they fly out of there. But very fitting, in my opinion, for Han, for that kind of situation.
Well, what's interesting, Bill, I heard in another podcast, I think it was less than 12 parsecs, if I can give some attribution, that when L3 was in the co-pilot seat, something happened to her to where she kind of momentarily shut down, and when her head hit the control panel, she just came back up, and they said they were thinking that was after she was part of the Falcon, that's kind of the same sound and the same timing that the engines did, which I want to go back and pay attention to that next time to see if that's well, it's right, it came from less than 12 parsecs, the fastest Star Wars podcast in the galaxy.
Fitting.
Very much so. Yeah, that was, oh my goodness. Well, it's such a historic thing in the Star Wars lore, that everyone knows about the Kessel Run.
It's a legend.
And it's so great. Yeah. I mean, and of course, originally we all thought that it was a measure of time. And then there were the naysayers that how does that even make sense? If he did it in 12 parsecs, it's not a measure of time. Well, now we know why. Now we know how, this happened. It's the route that he had to take, as opposed to the time that it took. I always, growing up, I always thought the Kessel Run was some sort of a race, literally a race that he entered the Millennium Falcon into at one point. And just knowing that this is what it was, just really adds so much richness to this history.
Well, did you notice? I'm sorry that that the going into it using the regular route, there were beacons that were guiding them, floating along there. They're like lights and everything like that. So I guess that was the official Kessel Run track. But okay, the parts I loved about this, real quick, I'm sorry, is that one, when he's finally going for it, the trick he pulls where he gets all the gravel and stuff to fly up to kill the TIE fighter. That was a very good effect of not just having the TIE fighter instantaneously blow up the first rock that hits it. You know what I mean? It actually showed it from the pilot's perspective, and I thought that was very well done. Also, before they see the monster, when it gets all quiet and the systems are kind of down and the cockpit goes to emergency red lighting, that was a very surreal scene. It was real peaceful. But then once everything fired up and they saw that monster, I love it wasn't like them all yelling at each other. It was just all of them at the same time going, ah! That's the natural kind of reaction that you would get. So that was, I agree. That was not what I had expected. I loved the giant space monster because he's been from one corner of the galaxy to another and seen a lot of strange things, right? And we know that there are giant space creatures out there, and he knew about the giant slug. I think the slug's name was Grendel in the old West End Games books, but so he knew that kind of stuff existed. So anyway.
Wow.
getting back to Jay's point, the what was the name of the plant that they went to refine? Find that the stuff. What they call it? That they needed to go to hyperspace. The fuel.
Midi-chlorinite.
No,
I'm not sure that's correct.
They had to refine the fuel, and so they went to the planet.
Blue
and that's
juice
where
stuff. Yeah.
The Scoundrel. That's what it was, Dennis.
No, I think it started. Didn't it start with a T?
Start with an S, so something like Ceravine or something like that.
Ceravine. Okay.
Yeah. But anyways, he got there, and so they're starting the refinement process, and he turns to this random guy, and he says, "Just did the Kessel Run in 12 parsecs." And Chewbacca goes with that line. He's like, "Well, if you're round down or whatever."
Yeah, that's so great.
But so the legend grows there. As much fun as this movie was, Bill, you made reference earlier that you thought Kira's performance was a little bit uneven, but was there anything else that you're critical of that just didn't quite work for you?
Not really. And that might come out if I see it a second time, which I will. I'll see it a couple times. I'm really hoping this movie catches some late steam, because I was hoping that this will be like one of those summer movie situations where I can go see it a bunch of times when I'm on vacation. But so like I'm definitely going to see it again. It's just like it's hard for me to pick things like that out when I'm just having so much fun with it initially. But there might be some things that stand out, and I also kind of wonder if Clark's performance might change a little bit for me now that I know where she is this whole time.
Yeah, sure.
In her mind, like if that's part of the performance, I'm having a hard time. Maybe I didn't like click for me because I didn't know her end game there. But yeah, so I don't really have many criticisms for it, actually.
How about you, Jay?
Not really. I'm sitting here trying to think. I've talked to a lot of people that have actually said that this was their first Star Wars movie that they had ever seen.
Well, I did too.
And I just thought that was very interesting. But then I also talked to some people that were, had grown up on Star Wars, but didn't really understand some of the things that were going on. And for me, there wasn't anything that didn't work. I still have some questions, of course, like with Dryden Voss, especially, like why did his eyes get so red and his scars, stick out? And he had that claw on his thumb. Was it because he was doing spice? And was that like a side effect of the spice? And how did he get involved in all of this? And, and how, and of course, my brain's trying to do all the math with Darth Maul and Crimson Dawn, and how is this all working together? And, and this, that, and the other. And I joked with my husband because we saw it for my second viewing, and I said, maybe Rey is the love child of Darth Maul and Kira. Could that even be possible? But so there's like the hate child. Yeah, we won't even go there. But
Taxus, how about you? Is there anything that you wish they had done different, or have a criticism about?
This is going to be controversial, but and don't get me wrong, I loved it, okay? Because I'm a super inside baseball Star Wars nerd, right? We all are. Let's just, full disclosure. The Maul part. The only problem I had with it is that the next morning, one of my friends, who is tangentially a Star Wars fan, okay, but doesn't get into it as much as I do. And so he always kind of comes and asks me, hey, what's going on? I get a phone call, and the first thing he says is, all right, man, I saw Solo. What's the deal with Maul? What's going on? I didn't understand that. What's happening? And he didn't understand the whole backstory with Maul, right? And I think that once you explain it to people, they're kind of like, oh, okay. But I just almost felt like, it was cool. I understand it because I watched the Clone Wars. We all know where it ends up in Rebels. And I just felt it was kind of like, hey, here's Maul, everybody. Hey, you don't know who this guy is yet? Let him use the Force to pull the lightsaber and fire up that double-bladed thing. Oh, you remember now. You know what I mean?
Sure.
I don't know. I'm not saying that they could have done it any better. I just thought that maybe if they had done more of like a shadowy illusion if they were planning on possibly continuing this whole story concept through any other movies, that it would have been a really big, fun Star Wars mystery. Just like we used to have, oh, did you see the Emperor? Yeah. Oh, I heard that was a monkey eyes that they were using. No, dude, that was his real eyes. Whoa, you know what I mean? Kind of thing we had from Empire Strikes Back. I just kind of felt like it was a missed opportunity to build some Star Wars mystery there, to have people coming back for more.
Yeah, sure. I can understand that. It's funny you should say that, because I had almost the exact same experience.
Wow.
A travel agent I use, who also is the host of his own podcast, it's a Disney podcast called Be Our Guest, Mike Rahman, emailed me and said, hey, you're a Star Wars fan. How was it that Maul is possibly in this movie? And so I sent him an email back. We had a chat about that, and I explained it to him, and he got it, and he's like, oh, okay, that makes sense. That's great. So I don't know. I loved his appearance. I loved the reveal. I saw the movie twice. The second time was with my kids, my wife, and some other family. And when that scene was coming up, I was sitting to their left, and I just scooted all the way to my left. There was no one in the seat next to me, so I had plenty of room. But and then I just watched them react to that thing, and they both their mouths just suddenly slowly dropped open. Their chins just got real low. Then they both turned to me, just whoa! They were so pumped at that, and it was unfortunately the way they experienced Star Wars, I never really had an opportunity to get the full effect of the I'm your father moment from Empire Strikes Back. The reaction to that. Yeah. So this was the closest thing I got to do with them, and it was worth it. It was so priceless.
Really quick, how long did it take for all of you to figure out it was Maul? Because I knew the moment I saw his first the metal leg.
Yeah,
well, really,
the legs did it for me.
Yeah.
It was the voice for me. I was like, wait a minute, that's Sam Witwer, and I was like, is that? And then for me, it was that, I was concentrating on what he was saying as a moment that I was looking at his legs. And then as soon as he turns, like, that's definitely him.
Sure.
I think I was in denial. I heard Sam Witwer's voice, and I thought, oh, wait, huh? I did not see it coming. And I did the same thing you did, Dennis, when I was sitting next to my husband. I kind of looked out of the corner of my eye. And then as soon as Maul was revealed, my husband looked at me like a dog that had just heard a weird noise. And then, afterward we talked about it. But yeah, it was, but honestly, the first time we were in the theater, I had expected more of a reaction from the crowd, and no one said anything. I think Pam and I were the only ones that were going,
Well, Taxus and I saw the movie together for my first viewing, and to my right, there were some other little kids, and as soon as the Maul reveal happened, they were like, Maul, oh my gosh, Maul. And it made it hard.
That is so cool.
Yeah, it made it hard to hear, but I did hear a number of gasps.
And I told them, shut up, kids, you're ruining the moment for Dennis.
Yeah, you were harsh.
I could see you doing that.
But, for me, the one thing, and this is not really a criticism, I just had a certain expectation for the movie going in. We had what, to me, was becoming an iconic shot from the trailers, where you had the shot of Enfys Nest and the rest of her Marauders lined up on the beach, and then the shot was from behind Han, and you saw him flipping his holster, the latch on his holster, so that he'd have access to his gun. So I was expecting a bit more of a shootout at the OK Corral type of a moment there to complete the entire Western motif we had going for this movie, and it didn't happen, and we had plenty of other good action scenes that happened after that, but that was something I just been looking so forward to. I was a little disappointed not to see it.
Could I say that was the one thing they fooled me on? Fooled you, is Enfys Nest. I thought that was the name of an organization, especially the word nest. You know what I mean? It kind of felt, in fact, I was like, are these things alien? I don't know what they are. Are they like some sort of weird, egg brother people, which one of them was. But when it come to find out it was one person's name, I was like, Star Wars naming. You got me there. I'm not sure if anybody else thought that was like the name of an organization versus one person,
Well, the reason I didn't was because of the little trading cards from Denny's. But
Denny's.
Yeah. But I want to know who her mom is. She said, my mother wore the mask. I want to know who her mom was. Of course, here we are, Star Wars lineage, family lineage.
Yeah, question. Certainly have a novel or a comic series or something coming to explain that at some point.
That'd be great.
Yeah, so Bill, what did you think of Enfys Nest?
I thought she was great. It was a pretty cool reveal to bring in some themes of the rebellion and stuff like that.
Sure.
So yeah, I mean, I thought it was pretty cool. It might have been a bit much to have to like add that on. You know, it just felt like trying to like squeeze a lot into like a small movie, but still, like I like the character. I like the idea of this person who's been the bad guy the whole time. Suddenly you realize, oh no, like this is actually the good guy, and
yeah, that was good.
The people we've been rooting for are kind of actually the bad guys.
Yeah,
you know?
Right? Can I ask you guys this real quick question?
Sure.
Okay, so we know that at the end, Han inadvertently funds maybe one of the major beginnings of the rebellion, you know? Mm-hmm. Does the Force use Han?
That's an awfully big question.
I'm an awfully big man, Dennis.
No, I don't.
Does the Force not use Han?
Okay, because Han seems to be there, and he makes the right decisions. You know what I mean? And all these decisions.
I guess my reaction to that is that I don't think you can describe everything that happens in the galaxy a preordained path determined by the Force.
In my experience, there's no such thing as luck, Dennis.
Okay. Well, fine, Obi-Wan. But I don't know. I kind of, up until the introduction of Maul at the end of the movie, jeez, I liked that this was a movie that was largely absent of the Force.
Yes, yeah.
And I kind of, I don't know, I really like the idea that Han was making his own way, that he and Kira had this plan to get away from Corellia and the desolation and the poverty that was there. They went out and they made something for themselves. Their paths took them different ways. And in the end, she makes all these points. It's like, I know who you really are. You're the good guy. No matter how hard you're trying to hide that, you're going to do the right thing. You're the good guy. And so it was a result of him making good choices. I don't know that. I think if it was the Force, he would have done something maybe he didn't really want to do, and for a reason he wasn't able to explain.
Good point.
I think Bill disagrees with you, right, Bill?
I just said good point.
Oh, okay. I was confused by that. Well, okay. Just because you do something that you want to do doesn't mean that things aren't working out the way that the almighty Force wants it to work out. I guess that's the way I'm kind of looking at this. It's
I suppose, but that's you're basically saying that you're proving a negative or the absence of a negative. I mean, how do you do that? It's we don't have a Force message going on here. I mean, I guess I could subscribe to this whole idea if he was just like, I've just got this feeling that there's something out there calling to me.
He's got a good feeling about this.
That's not it.
Just saying.
So every time they say, I got a bad feeling about this is the Force, no matter who it is. I mean, the BB-8 beeping that at the beginning of The Last Jedi is the Force working through him.
Droids aren't people. So. I knew I'd draw you off. I knew I'd draw you off sides on that. Sorry. No, I mean, okay, I don't know. It's just kind of a larger, I guess you're right. It's a big philosophical question. I just always felt like watching Han Solo through the original trilogy and everything that even though he's all like, yeah, the Force doesn't have anything with me, whatever, you might not believe in the Force, but the Force is believing in you, Han Solo, and it's using you to accomplish its ends in some form or fashion.
Yeah, I guess one last point I make of that is that, we know the Force is with everybody. It flows through everyone. I think to say that it's specifically guiding Han's actions for a stated purpose in this movie, that's a bit much to me, but I can see your point. Yeah. Well, we're kind of about run out of time on this conversation, but before we go, Bill, I wanted to kind of dive into what's going on over at Dorklair right now. For perhaps our listeners who aren't familiar with your show, you can kind of give them a summary of what it is that y'all are doing.
So the Dorklair is my collecting podcast, and we primarily focus on Star Wars action figures. And throughout the first year, pretty much, of the show, we focused on Star Wars SH Figuarts figures.
Yeah.
And we worked our way through pretty much all of the figures that had been released, and we're almost caught up. We have a couple variants that we haven't really done that don't justify their own episode, but each episode we we cover action figure news, focusing on 6-inch mostly, and then like a little bit of Black Series, a little bit of figure arts, and then some other things like some Marvel figures and stuff, but leaning on the premium side in terms of the news. And then we go into a review each week of one specific feature figure. So like our last episode, for example, we did some news. We covered a bunch of Tamashii Comic-Con teases and reveals, and then we went into a review of the SH Figure Arts Luke Skywalker, sort of hermit Luke from the Last Jedi.
I gotta say, I love your photos too. I mean, your show imagery is amazing. And I don't think people really know, even though this is your second time to appear on Starships, Sabers, and Scoundrels. Go way back to our first clip show. I don't think people really know that maybe that side of you, you know? Why don't you explain what you do with all that?
So actually predating the Dork Lair podcast, I've been taking photographs of my action figures, even going back to, I think it goes all the way back to before my first podcast, which was a Star Wars Card Trader podcast. But, you know, like posting on Instagram and sharing photos of my figures and posing them with other figures. And, you know, there's a whole sort of community of action figure photographers, some of which are just absolutely inspiring and wonderful. You know, if you ever want to follow some great action figure photographers, just go to my Instagram account and then see who I follow, because that's all I follow. It's like it's like my safe haven of just awesomeness. It's just all figure photographers. And so like I take a lot of photos, and part of my podcast is that each week I take a photo for the show art. So that's always a photo either of my own, or if we're reviewing a figure that my co-hosts Chris or Larry are kind of covering, then Chris will usually take a photo in the same kind of style. But every now and then, now that I have a weekly podcast, it's not as much anymore, but every now and then I post to a column on RetroZap called Photographic Plastic, where I kind of cover a figure and photograph it and whatnot.
That's so cool. I love that.
You know, if I ever need a headshot, I'm going to have myself made into an action figure first and then ship it to you. Because you're awesome. I'm just saying.
Thank you.
He is.
Bill, you frequently start off your episodes, how's it go, according to legend?
Yes.
How is it that you determine that? I mean, and maybe you can be more specific for the listeners, but then this vague description I've given it about, but you usually start the show with kind of just a blurb about something related to what you're going to talk about.
Yeah, I usually start with the character. So it's usually the character that is the figure of the week. So, you know, like last week it was a Luke Skywalker, according to legend. And I'll go to Wikipedia and just start reading and browsing about that character. And oftentimes I'll find a tangent off of the character, and I'll follow that tangent, and then I'll try to build my, according to legend, blurb in sort of a reverse engineer way that takes me from some tangential aspect and brings me back to that character. And that's kind of how I compose those each week. It gets a little tricky with Marvel, which we've done, because I'm not as like deep into the lore. Like I don't recognize those tangents as well. But yeah, so that's my process for building those.
Okay. Well, Bill, thank you so much for joining us for this conversation. Again, maybe you could share your social media for the listeners and where all they can find you.
So you can follow the podcast on Twitter at Dorklair and on Instagram at The Dorklair. And we also have a Facebook page. It's called the Dorklair Podcast Facebook group. It's actually a group, not a page. I mean, we have a page, but I don't focus on that. And then my personal accounts are all Lost Star Wars for Instagram and Twitter and whatnot.
Still not following me on Twitter, Bill.
Yes, I am.
Oh, you are? I must have missed that. I'm sorry.
Crying
Well, that
before
was
you're
awkward.
hurt.
Am I not?
Look at that.
I'm a little hurt. I was.
Okay. Well, Bill, thanks again for joining us for the conversation. This was a lot of fun.
Thanks for having me.
According to legend, General Grievous was known to boast of the number of lightsabers he had acquired from the bodies of his slain Jedi enemies. Grievous was the first in a long tradition of collectors of rare items. A tradition that continues to this day on the Retro Zap podcast known as the Dork Lair. Dork Lair.
It's time for...
Silence, fools!
Okay. So let's start off with a Twitter poll that was left over from episode 54. Yeah, sorry about that again. But anyways, we asked, you stumbled upon a treasure map that leads to untold riches. Who from the Star Wars universe, other than Han and Chewie, are you recruiting to help you find it? So as usual, we each nominated somebody, and then we left it open for people to nominate someone on their own. Taxus, you nominated Darth Maul.
Bravely. And I knew
Jay?
in advance what I was doing because of Solo.
Right. Okay. Jay, you nominated Thrawn. I nominated R2D2, and then we left again the other category. So coming in last place is Other, with a bunch of responses we'll get to in a minute.
I think there's a lot of people out there that regret their vote.
In third place with 19% was Darth Maul. I don't know. I got to tell you, I'm not convinced that you don't end up getting chopped in half or 4 pieces if you take him along with you. But anyway, so he was in third, and second was Thrawn with 32%, and with 41% of the vote, R2D2 wins the poll. This was we had a lot of responses to this. We got a little bit of discussion that on Discord as well. We had 75 votes, and we'll get to some of the responses. So first up, Jamie Guida at Darkside MX, who we've talked to several times before.
Sure.
He nominated Marjay because I'm straight crushing on that sexy redhead. That's what he says.
That's right. That's right.
Past guest and friend of the show, Ryder Waldron.
And another redhead.
Yeah. Says, this is a tough
creepy
one. I think I'd pick Rey. She knows how to scavenge, is resourceful, and she has a force. That's actually a really good suggestion.
Yeah, I never even thought of that.
Yeah,
good job, Ryder.
The one thing I would love is for my female companion to know how to scavenge. Right.
I think we're more concentrating on the person helping you find the treasure. But
I totally got confused. Okay.
Yeah. So then Derek Spire over at Raising Fangirls chimed in with Jackson. He's canon again. Where's my Black Series figure at Hasbro News? I'd like it. Even take an original Funko figure. So, you know, Taxus, you might have to use your powers. I mean, you got Hera made.
But she kind of took all the green.
So I'm sure we could find plenty more. Okay. And then loyal listener Rezakai says Sedano Athano, the Crimson Corsair, because he's good at finding treasures in the Star Universe. And that's very true. I hadn't even considered him, but that's a pretty good decision. Wow. So Bill, who we just talked to during our hypothetical, chimes in with, and this was on Discord, I went with Jocasta Nu. So much info, and that's true.
Yeah, that's true.
And then our fearless leader over at RetroZap, Joe Tavano, says naturally Oppo, as in Oppo forearms, no pants, great for carrying things, can't hide anything. So.
Well, it's not World of Warcraft. I mean, you know, you're not having to grab everything as you're running around. You know,
Sure. Marks Pearson nominated Dex. He knows a lot and he can cook. Now that would both be useful skills.
Yeah.
Maybe grab some of those things from Thinking we were talking about.
He has forearms too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he knows the difference between knowledge and wisdom.
Sure does.
Right. And then Nick Deco agreed with my suggestion of R2 because that droid packs everything and swears like a sailor. So he's good.
We know. Pirate. Yeah, because we know he tells dirty stories.
Yeah.
Right.
Just learned that. Okay. So this week's poll, we just had Solo a Star Wars story. And based on that, here we go. Lucasfilm has asked you to determine which character should be featured in the next Star Wars story movie. Who is your choice? Taxus, you came in third place, so you get to go first.
Luke Skywalker.
Okay, going with Luke. Did you have a story in mind for that?
He becomes a Jedi.
Okay,
I got nothing.
I can tell.
Oh crap. Okay. Seriously, Darth Bane.
Darth Bane.
Ooh.
So I'm going.
I have to admit, I knew that one of the two of you were going to pick that. Jay, how about you?
That was the most crazy maniacal laugh ever. So, okay. So we're talking about characters that aren't already maybe possibly being speculated to get their own. Is that what I'm understanding?
I think I established that, Jay.
You can handle this however you want. My thought is that, we got strong rumors about Kenobi and Boba Fett, but if you want to say that's what they're going to do, then by all means, go ahead and nominate them.
Okay. Well, oh boy. I would love to see an Obi-Wan standalone, but that being said, I think I am going to go out on a limb a little bit as well. And I actually think I would really like to have, let's see. Oh gosh, game time decision here.
I know, right? It's tough.
It is tough. Oh boy. I'm going to say Phasma.
Phasma.
Okay.
I like that. Hey, if they can do a movie about Boba Fett, why not her? We got some great stories about her in the novel and then in the comics.
Exactly. And I want to see Cardinal in a movie.
Okay, I agree with you.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yep. So you may have picked the winner there. I'm going to go with a choice that I don't think is actually going to win, but I want to see it anyways, and that's Dr. Aphra. I considered Qui-Gon because I'd love to see more of him in a Star Wars movie, and I feel like we just don't have that much content anywhere about Qui-Gon.
That's true.
So that was a consideration. Based off of Solo, I would love to have more on Kira's adventures and the 3 years following what happened on Corellia and then what we saw in the movie later. But then I was just like, you know what? I think Aphra could work in the same vein as a solo Star Wars story. So that is my vote. And of course, we will open it up to everybody else to chime in with their selections if they don't agree with ours. Yeah, sure. So look for that poll on Twitter sometime within a day or two after this episode is released. And then when you're done, head over to Discord and let's chat about it. So with that out of the way, I wanted to talk a little bit about a experience I had on Twitter this past weekend. Just because I was having a good time and was been chatting about Solo a lot, I just put this tweet out that said, I really want to see #Solo again. I love that movie and the experience. Ron Howard and the Kasdans captured so many great Star Wars elements in one film. John Powell's score is amazing as well. And I threw that out there and I was expecting maybe, 3, 4, half dozen people to, like it, retweet it, whatever, comment on it. But then the Star Wars Twitter account shared this. It was something about the fact that, there's nothing wrong with wanting to go back to Corellia again. And there was a typo there and they made a comment about that. Well, that was interesting. But as of the day that we're recording, this thing has received 34 direct responses, over 120 retweets, and nearly 1,300 likes.
Oh my gosh.
That is awesome.
One of those responses was me, man.
I saw that. Yeah, I saw that it had, by the time I saw it, it blown up, which is so cool.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. I kind of got the feeling of what it might be like to be Pablo Hidalgo from time to time. It was kind of fun being at this top of this pyramid of all these different conversations were going on. I mean, there's a bunch of people that said I was the first one that they'd seen comment on John Powell's score, which surprised me because I've been digging that. I've been listening to that. We didn't even talk about that during our review.
Yeah, we'll save that for later.
But I've been digging the music. And so a couple conversations branched up. People were arguing about, what was better, Rogue One score or the Solo score. I got a few trolls that I responded to one or two of them and they said, what am I doing? And I just engaged the block button. But a lot of fun. It was, I talked to a whole bunch of people that I had never spoken to before. But anyway, just thought I'd share that one. Anyway, so that I think we'll do it for Silence Fools.
Well, no, not quite, Dennis, because even though there were some trolls out there, I'm really glad we all enjoyed Solo. In fact, as I think about our enjoyment, it fuels my thumbs up dark side rage energy for...
Whoa, well, it's been a while, but something has struck a nerve with Taxus. And with that, he's going to go on a little rant to tell us all about it. So strap in. Take it away, Taxus.
Yes, strap in indeed. Thank you, Dennis. Little lost scoundrels. We gathered together today to celebrate the salvation of my favorite character, Han Solo. From what many decried was to be a freight train full of automobiles carried by an aircraft that crashes into a mountain housing old folks' homes, orphanages, animal rescue centers, and one Orange Julius. And although the weight of the anticipated sorrow and prepared exclamations of dismay built a wall of doom for many, it was I, and I alone, who proclaimed nay to the naysayers.
Wait a minute. There were plenty of people who believed this movie would turn out well.
Alone! Nay! Naysayers! I say...
I think we have audio.
If I may be allowed to issue a hot space opinion at this time.
Please do.
When I heard they were going to go back and do a Han Solo movie, I was a little... really? Because, you could do it in the books, you could do it in the comics just fine, but I just, Harrison Ford to me was young when he was introduced. Now you're trying to introduce somebody that's almost the same age. I mean, not quite, but in the ballpark. And it just seems unstable to me. Like the wheels could come off of that real quick if they're not careful. Compelling yet inconsequential, Dennis. I was merely stating that perhaps they should defer their efforts until they could realize a lower federal tax rate, which, now that it is lower, I would have fully approved of their plans back then.
Is this one of those always in motion is the future things?
That and Congress.
Uh-huh. I have a few more.
A few more?
Yeah, let's go to this one.
I don't know, y'all. I'm having grave concerns about this movie. I mean, I'm on record saying that I'm scared that they're messing with Han, but now after the firing, maybe they should just scrap the whole thing like the Boba Fett movie and take a good, long, hard second look at this one, because I'm not so sure it's going to be good now. I'm really having trouble remembering that. I think I was recovering from a head injury.
And how is that different than any other time?
Good point. Touché.
Ooh, I have one.
This movie is going to suck. It will suck harder than anything that has ever sucked in the universe of suckage or any of the mirror dimensions that all still suck no matter how many possibilities there are. I condemn this movie and anyone in the past, present, or especially the future who even dare suggest that they like this obviously rotting pile of filth that the mouse is trying to pawn off as quality entertainment to a well-deserved special place in Star Wars hell. And if anyone screams, why oh why are we here languishing when we should have listened to reason and ignored this movie totally, you can tell them they should have listened to reasonable people like me, Darth Taxus.
That isn't me. That doesn't even sound like me.
Oh, sorry. Let me do this.
This movie is going to suck.
That's just the same guy wearing my helmet. I was wondering why it smelled a little like Jack Daniel's chicken from Fridays.
Well, there's this.
Ay, caramba. ¿Qué le están haciendo a mi querido Han Solo?
Okay, first off, I don't speak Spanish. I only butcher it.
Revolución de burritos de los fanáticos de Star Wars.
Second, that sounds like Commander Jesus.
Eso a la biblioteca o al baño. Firmado, el comandante Jesús.
And third, he just said he was Commander Jesus. Okay, it's my turn to provide evidence.
I'm Darth Taxus, and I think Han Solo is going to be a really fun movie. I can't wait to see it. It's going to be my favorite.
Do I even have to say it?
I, had a cold. That made me sound really cute. In summary, Scoundrels, not only do I currently enjoy the new Solo movie, I have always supported its creation and always knew it would be well done, despite the lies placed in episodes 3, 7, 11, 13.5, 15 through 27, 28 through 46, and episodes 58.
Isn't this episode 56?
Trust me, just like you could trust my predictions on tax rates and how great this movie is. Back to you, Janus.
Okay. Well, I think we're going to put this edition of Science Fools out of its misery. Well, after that discussion, I'm really ready to see Solo: A Star Wars Story again. Mm-hmm. But before we go, do either of you have anything for Scoundrels to be on the lookout for?
Well, right now for me, I am a full-time scoundrel, and but hopefully this summer I'll be back to blogging a little bit more once things kind of cool out. But still loving my gig here, and still loving That So Wizard. So my plate is full. My Lando plate is full. I'm good.
You're going to be blogging your One Piece.
Yeah, that's one of my it's one of the things on my Lando plate. I've got like 6 or 7 things backed up right now that I need to talk about.
Okay, so me, I'm over on Assembly Geeks Network with the Geek Supreme and with Scott Murray, Jeff McGee, and Regina Davis. We just had a really fun episode that was a role-playing game esque style that we awarded one listener at home a prize package of Solo goodies. So we're going to get going back up. This next it drops every Tuesday.
Yeah, your episode of Geek Supreme with the role-playing was a lot of fun. That was well done by you all. But there was one part which I was nearly screaming in my gym listening because everyone couldn't figure out what to do. But anyways, I highly recommend that everyone give that a listen. As usual, I have some recent Star Wars comic reviews on RetroZap. Some recent reviews include Doctor After number 20, which was really good, Star Wars number 48, which was uneven, and Star Wars Annual number 4, which was also really great. Highly recommend that one. And finally, you can also catch my Star Wars blogs on Coffee with Kenobi. So, Scoundrels, thank you for listening and for your support. If you have enjoyed the show, this has been Starships, Sabers, and Scoundrels, and we would love a 5-star review wherever you listen to your podcast, especially iTunes, which is also known as Apple Podcasts. On the other hand, if you didn't like us, please don't betray us to Crimson Dawn because, well, we would be extremely disappointed, and you know what Tobias Beckett has to say about that. With that in mind, we do appreciate any time you share our show posts on Twitter and Facebook. Please let others know you are listening by sharing the show with a great tweet or a post. A special thanks to everyone that has taken the time to share our shows with their social media friends.
Speaking of social media, Starship, Sabers, and Scoundrels can be followed on Twitter and Instagram at @SCubedPod and liked on Facebook where we are facebook.com/SCubedPod. If you want to follow Darth Taxus on Twitter, he is at Darth Taxus. Dennis is at DJKVER2, and I am at Joyce Krebs. Don't forget about our page on the RetroZap Discord server. It's so much fun. We'll be there talking about Solo and Star Wars frequently. You can find links to that in our show notes and on our social media pages. You can also reach us by email at scubedpod@retrozap.com. We would love to hear your thoughts on Solo: A Star Wars Story, but if you have anything else that's on your mind, Star Wars related or not, then let us know. Emails, really good tweets, and iTunes reviews end up in Silence Fools. Again, our email address is scubedpod@retrozap.com, and I have changed my Twitter handle to J337, just so you know. But I'm still at Joyce Krebs, so I had to give a little love to L3.
We are honored to be part of the RetroZap.com podcast network. Did you know that RetroZap is home to 20 podcasts? Please check out RetroZap for other great shows, including the superhero suite of shows featuring Jay and Josh. They just finished up all their season finales. Other Star Wars shows such as Skywalking Through Neverland, Beltway Banthas, Kanata's Castle, and of course Bruiser Blasters, collecting shows like The Dork Lair and other great shows like The Animated Cast, The ARG Cast, The Deuce Cast, and Techno Retro Dads. Also be sure to check out our Scoundrels t-shirts on TeePublic Just go to tpublic.com/user/sqpod or just search for us on the site. Do you plan on, or have you ever had your arms ripped off by a Wookiee? Please visit our line of fine, stain-resistant tank tops.
Okay. Well, thanks to Aaron Lay for our show logos, and to James Volpe, the Sky Geek, for our The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly show logo. And many thanks to Mario and the Scoundrels players for lending us their voice talents.
And here is our disclaimer. Starship, Sabers, and Scoundrels is not endorsed, affiliated with, or sponsored by Lucasfilm Limited and or Disney. This show is intended for entertainment and informational purposes only. All characters, music, and sounds are the intellectual property of their respective copyright holders. All else is the intellectual property of Starship, Sabers, and Scoundrels unless otherwise indicated.
Loosely intellectual.
Well, that will bring us to the end of another episode. Any final thoughts?
Okay, let's hear a bad solo pun.
Nah, I think I'll pass.
Pass?
Yeah, I'd rather leave everybody on a so high.
Well, that will definitely do it for episode 56 of Starships, Sabers, and Scoundrels. Always, thanks for listening and joining us this week. Until next time, may the Force be with you.
Close carbon.
Hey, girls. Anyone want to make the Kessel Run?
That'd be cool, but we only got 12 parsecs.
Hop in.